Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Corteva Agri Science podcast series, Seeds of Change. I am Sayan. I am a scientist at Corteva Agri Science, and I will be your host today. As many of us are aware that the Indian economy is fundamentally dependent on the agricultural industry, a big chunk of our rural households depends heavily on agriculture for their livelihood. More than 80% of our farmers are small and marginal farmers who continuously face challenges of climate uncertainties and low productivity. As per UN, India has now projected to become the most populous country in the world, surpassing China, and population growth will further reduce the availability of arable land. So now the question is, how do we handle these challenges faced by the agriculture industry? I feel it is imperative for agricultural industry to adopt cutting edge technologies to boost output. Otherwise, it will be really difficult to keep feeding this ever growing population and also venture into export opportunities to other countries. Implementing new seed technologies is one approach to increase efficiency, and adoption of these newer technologies is very crucial right now to improve farmers' livelihoods and support the expansion of Indian agriculture as a whole. So, if we talk about emerging seed technology, what does it mean? It refers to development and application of new approaches to plant breeding and seed production that have the potential to increase agricultural yields and strengthen crops' resilience to climate change and environmental alterations. Corteva is a leading provider of sustainable and innovative seed technologies to the farmers. However, there may be a number of challenges in widespread adoption of these cutting edge seed technologies. In this context, today we are here to promote a greater awareness and understanding of the benefits and challenges of using emerging new seed technologies in agriculture. And I am really delighted to have two eminent personalities with us today as guests who, along with their teams, are closely connected with farmers on ground and are well aware of the practical problems faced by the growers. First of all, we have Dr. S.P. Singh with us. Dr. Singh is the Agriculture Science Technical Director at Tanager. He has more than 35 years of experience as an agricultural scientist and extension specialist. He has received numerous awards during his illustrious career and is very well connected to the farming community. Having visited and worked with nearly 25,000 smallholder farmers in India in the past 5 years alone, he has extensive experience in providing practical knowledge that builds farmers' resilience in a difficult agricultural landscape. Also, we have with us today Mr. Pravesh Sharma, who is the director of Samunnati Agro. Mr. Sharma is a former IAS officer and has worked in areas of agriculture, rural finance, and natural resource management, to name a few, during his long career. Mr. Sharma joined the board of Samunnati Agro in May 2021. He was the founder CEO of Kamatan, an agri-tech startup which was launched in 2018 to create an inclusive supply chain by integrating farmers with markets. He is also fondly known as father of Indian FPOs. So I strongly believe with their expertise and experience, they will be able to enlighten us on some of the pain points of the farmers and bottlenecks for adoption of new emerging seed technologies at a faster rate. So we welcome you both to this podcast, Dr. Singh and Mr. Sharma, and it's an absolute pleasure to have you on board today. So we greatly appreciate your time and looking forward to some really engaging discussions around these important topics. So now I will jump right into our discussion, which we are eagerly waiting for, basically. So first, I will go to Dr. Singh for my first question. So my first question is, in your opinion, what are the most common challenges that are faced by the farmers in adoption of new seed technologies? I mean, suppose we have seed technologies or new cutting edge technologies available in the market, but what are the challenges which the farmers are facing for adopting those technologies in a faster pace? I mean, what have been your observations, Dr. Singh, based on your experience?
Yeah, actually, when farmers are given some new seeds, new seed technologies. Basically, farmers doesn't know about the new seeds. What are seeds? This one, whether it's long duration, short duration. If we think like the quality component, the practices, what agriculture practices are there, what they need. So they are always in doubt. What will happen? Suppose I am adopting this one. So that problems always they are facing, and there our role comes that we should tell them this seed is particularly for this climate, this practices, and you have to adopt this one. Suppose fertilizer is there, you have to adopt this fertilizer. This is a short duration or long duration crop. All those information has to be given to them, and we should give in such a way that farmers should think that the particular person who is giving information to me is also a good man, he knows the subject, means he should have some belief in us also. So in that case only he will believe us, and they will adopt this new seed technology. Yeah.
Right. Excellent. So excellent points brought out by you, Dr. Singh. So I think what you told is the main thing is we need to um, uh, remove the apprehension of the farmers about this
Yes.
new and seed technologies.
Yes.
And then, I mean, we need to kind of educate them about the benefits of adapting to these new seed technologies, and they need a reliable partner to communicate those benefits to them, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
okay, excellent points you have made. So maybe I will just briefly come to Mr. Sharma. So what are your views on most common challenges which farmers are facing for adoption of new technologies, seed technologies?
So, my first reaction to your question would be that India is perhaps the best example of the immense appetite for adopting new technologies, especially in agriculture. If you look at our last 70-year history, a country which was food deficit at the time of independence, which produced only 50 million tons of food grains. And I'm sure you've seen today's papers that this year is going to close at something over 330 million tons. Now, this was entirely and perhaps primarily made possible because of the complete makeover of the whole technology scenario of Indian agriculture. Uh, we saw how the entire green revolution technology, going from the lab where scientists like Dr. Singh, made outstanding contributions, then taken to the field through an effective extension machinery. But I would also add that the effectiveness of the seed was only half of it, or the technology efficacy was only half of it. It is the ecosystem approach which the policy adopted in that phase, that not only are you going to invest in research and extension, but you're also going to address issues of provision of inputs, access to finance, and ultimately the buyback, the entire MSP arrangement, the procurement, FCI, we know the rest of it. So my lesson from that first great success in a massive, very dramatic and very impactful adoption of new technologies is that if there is a very well thought through ecosystem approach, where technology is not seen in isolation in one silo, but technology is seen as part of a series of interrelated ecosystem requirements, yes, you'll have the success. We've had a second success more recently in the last 20 years in two crops, especially one being, of course, BT cotton and the other being hybrid maize, where your company is also a big player. We see the same lessons being played out again. Very good investment in research, but also very effective extension. This time, the only difference is while the first wave, the extension was led by public sector agencies, in the latter case, the extension is led by the private sector. The cotton and the maize crop revolutions in this country are a great example of private sector success in getting farmers on a mass scale to adopt very cutting edge technologies, right? And the final closure of that is that though the government was not a player in, helping farmers realize a better value, the market at that time was very rewarding, right? From being a net importer of cotton, we became a net exporter of cotton in that decade. In maize, instead of importing huge quantities, we started exporting, huge quantities every year. And the, growth simultaneously of our feed industry, poultry, the rest of it. So I will, say this again at the cost of repetition, that in both these cases, farmers' core, I would say, need that you guarantee me the efficacy of your technology by demonstrating it, which is how the Green Revolution technologies were adopted, and also the latter commercial crop technologies. And second, show me the rewarding market. Today, you perhaps can not find any part of this country, and I have the privilege of still traveling in very remote areas. I was in, tribal areas of Gujarat a couple of months ago. Even there, every farmer is aware of the different hybrids of maize and which ones are suitable to their local ecosystem. But if they are not adopting it at mass scale, the simple reason is they say, where is my return, right? And this also answers a perennial question which many people pose. Why are the average productivity rates of major crops in India only 50% of China? And the reason is that the market is not rewarding the producers who are adopting those technologies, right? If the market was fair to them, because we have a consumer bias, I don't want to go into a very tangential area, but we do know the reasons why prices remain depressed. So farmers hold back. I also think that this gap, this headroom is our safety valve, which means that, as you mentioned in your opening statement, that if the population has grown or will continue to grow, well, actually we have the tools already to continue to meet demand. All we have to do is to raise productivity only to China levels. We're not talking about European or US levels here, right? So in the end, I would just say that if we could understand and recognize the importance of following the ecosystem approach, I don't think that there is any reluctance on the part of farmers per se in adopting the most cutting edge production technology, especially in seed.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. I think very, very enlightening insights you have provided, Mr. Sharma. I think so. As you correctly mentioned, I mean, there is no dearth of appetite for adopting new technologies, but we need to build the correct ecosystems for the farmer through whatever means we can, basically, so that farmers are confident of getting enough reward from that new technology, I think. So that is very, very important. And we will discuss further on that during the course of the podcast. So thank you very much. So now just moving to kind of a natural follow-up question on this, maybe I will first go to Mr. Sharma, because both of you have like immense experience in at grassroots level, basically. So, and you have seen a lot of, you have worked with a lot of farmers. So could you share, for the benefit of the audience, one or two such incidents or remarkable incidents from your experience regarding some of the pain points or challenges which farmers face while attempting to increase crop productivity in a country like India?
Since you asked me to go first,
yes, Mr. Sharma.
My experience would largely, of course, be related to my time I spent in the government, and I worked in Madhya Pradesh. And in fact, we were the generation of civil servants who saw in the early 80s the switch from jowar to soybean, right?
Okay.
Madhya Pradesh was a very major jowar producing, region, right from Malwa in the west all the way to the east. And we saw in a matter of less than a decade how more than 90% of the jowar area was replaced by soybean, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Again, I would say the approach followed by the Green Revolution in the early phase, where you put in that same ecosystem approach, you had demonstration farms, seed farms, you had farmer, production cooperatives, and then you had a system of giving them the technical advice,
Yeah.
and ensured buyback, and you also put up some public sector capacity in crushing oil, the export of the de-oiled cake, the DOC started in that phase.
Yeah.
And it seemed to work very well for almost about 10 years.
Yeah.
But towards the end of that decade, we saw a very strange phenomenon. And, I think we are all aware of the larger political economy challenges when you do commercial work or business oriented activities in a government sector at a large scale, right? So problems, in fact, started at the top of the chain. So how the whole mismanagement of the crushing capacity or the bad business decisions or risky bets were placed on. So bad planning, I would say, and bad management at the top end of the value chain had a cascading effect right down to the ground. And we saw that the productivity of soybean stagnated at about 1 ton per hectare, right? In fact, it's improved a little now to about 1.2 tons. But even in the non-GM category, we are aware that people are able to achieve in demonstration plots on government farms, research farms. People have achieved easily 2 to 2.5 tons per hectare, right? Now, we know that every year India imports more than $10 billion worth of edible oil, right? And that now is acting as a reverse sort of depressive pressure on domestic prices, which disincentivizes the producers from undertaking any enhancement. So what we are seeing is that a seed which has the capacity to generate 5 tons is underperforming at about 1.2 tons. It's a great, I think, loss to the country. It's a great disservice to the scientists like Dr. Singh, who have labored to create this potential, right? Now, what we are missing is, of course, public policy is deficient. I would hold it primarily responsible for the state of affairs. Today, you can't replicate that green revolution model where the government took on the entire responsibility, hired lakhs of extension agents. You perhaps may be aware, or Dr. Singh may be aware, today in this country, the total number of sanctioned positions of government extension workers is about 1.75 lakhs. 50% of them are vacant. Governments have stopped hiring extension agents. They have left the job to the market. All the private extension agents in this country total up to a little over 3 lakhs. So extension agents in the private sector are already double. My point is, can the government not reach out and create a public-private partnership platform where it leverages the capacity of the private sector? Because this is a national goal. Should it not be a national goal to reduce the import bill of this $10 billion per, annum? So this is one stark example. I'm going to stop here because we'd like to hear Dr. Singh also.
Sure. Thank you very much. I think very, very relevant example. And as you mentioned correctly, I mean, we need a stronger public-private partnership in order to, overcome some of these challenges. So I will discuss more in the next phase, but I will quickly come to Dr. Singh. So if you want to share any such experience where farmers are facing challenges while attempting to increase crop productivity.
Yeah, actually, what we are doing presently, that as you told that we have 25,000 farmers with us and working on Mintha. So problem is that suppose some organization is giving new seeds or new planting materials, whatever is there. So first of all, that farmers has to believe that this will be a good thing for me. Second thing, the agriculture practices. As Dr. Sharma was telling that we have to follow this. Same thing, if we tell them that this particular variety requires this much of fertilizer, this much of irrigation, this much of insecticide, pesticide, means whatever is there. So in that case, we have to be with the farmers. We have to demonstrate them practically, and we have to say that this particular variety, this particular things will you give this much oil. I can tell you one thing, sir, here that when we came and started doing with the farmer, the mint oil yield was per acre 35 to 40 kg per acre. But variety is the same. They were not believing that this variety will give better oil yield. Variety was the same, but the practices what we adopted, we told them, number of things we changed in that one. Because the spacing, then the fertilizer management, means when in fertilizer, where to give, how to give, and when to give, all these things, we made it in a calendar wise, and we used to be there, means myself or my extension officer used to be there. They have demonstrated it in first year, and slowly and slowly they have reached 60 to 90 kg per acre oil. So now they believe that whatever we will tell, they will believe it. So that problem is over now, but still some more is there that has to be done.
Okay, great. So I think so correct. Even if we have a high yielding seed, plus still we have to follow correct agronomic interventions to achieve the maximum potential from that.
That has to be there,
right?
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yes.
Thanks. Yeah. So very valid point. Okay. So so until now, I think we have a great discussion so far. So now coming into kind of crux of the discussion today. So my next question will be, I mean, first I will go to Dr. Singh, because right until now we discussed what are some of the challenges the farmers are facing on the field in order to adopt cutting edge seed technologies, basically, which are coming their way. But now the $1 million question is, how best do you think we can overcome those challenges? What are some of the practical strategies or solutions? I mean, some of those we already discussed in our previous part, but I would like to dive into a little bit more details, like what are some of the solutions to overcome these challenges, and what kind of roles do you see, private companies like Corteva play in facilitating adoption of new technologies, along with government agencies, FPOs like Samunnati or Tanager. So how does an integrated approach to solve these problems, can help farmers to adopt these new technologies at a more faster rate? Dr. Singh. Yeah.
Actually, sir, we have 3 partners here, as you have told: government, Tanager, and Corteva. So Corteva, the responsibility that suppose you are giving some new seeds. Suppose in the case of rice, you are giving some new seeds. So that seed will be given to the farmers, and then role comes Tanager, that how to cultivate it, in what way that has to be cultivated by the farmers. So that has to be given by Tanager, that whole agricultural practices in a demonstration way has to be given to the farmer. Suppose in one village, 100 farmers are there, so 3-4 fields in different directions, we can select them, give all the practices related to that particular variety. We have to give them. When they have to go for, suppose rice is there or even mint is there, when they have to go for nursery, after how many days they have to plant it, at what spacing they have to plant it. At the time of planting also, we have to think that suppose that variety is or that crop is long duration or short duration. So accordingly, and in which season that we are going to plant it. If it is long duration, we have to plant it east-west. If it is short duration, we can plant in northeast, north-south. So these things has to be taken into consideration. At the same time, suppose fertilizer we are giving them, how much fertilizer we are have to give them in the basal days, and then whether we have to give some micronutrient as a spray, then broadcasting, and all these things has to be given to the farmers in the farmer field along with us. Someone of us, either myself or our extension officer, has to be there so that farmers can, and work has to be done by the farmers. So then he can learn everything. And this will be a demonstration field. And all the 4-5 fields in a village will give a better response to all the farmers, even neighboring villages also. They will come and see and they will talk together in between each other. So the message will go that this particular variety, when we cultivated like this has given this much of yield, that has given less cost of cultivation, more yield, and less problem. Now the point comes for government agencies. Government has to think so many things they have to think. Suppose electricity is there, they have to minimize the charges for irrigation. The fertilizer subsidies are there, the mandi taxes are there. So number of things are there in government domain also, that also they have to think are the new things, how to increase that yield and how to go in the market so that farmers can get better profit. Suppose even yield also, suppose we are having rice, in the case of rice, suppose we are getting 24 to 25 quintal per acre. But if we are giving good practices, the same seed, good practices in the field, in proper way at proper time, the same variety will give even 30 to 32 kg, 32 quintals of yield in the same area. So practices are more important, seeds are more important. At the same time, government policies related to agriculture equally important. So all these three players has to
Right.
work together. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. So I think very valid points you brought out, Dr. Sharma. So I mean, in this context, I will just quickly mention that I mean, from Corteva's side also, we are trying our best to mobilize the farmer groups in order to make them aware about the benefit of the new technologies, basically. So in this context, I would just like to mention about one of our projects, which is called Pravakta, where we select some influential farmers who are users of Corteva products for several years, and then use them to educate other farmers in the particular block or village, basically, in order to mobilize the entire farming group who are kind of working on a particular crop like maize or so on, basically. So, and it has been a pretty successful campaign for us. But as you mentioned, everyone has to work together. Government agencies, private companies, FPOs like Samunnati, and so on, basically. Then only we can reap the maximum benefit, basically. Okay, so with this, I will quickly move to Mr. Sharma. So I mean, you have already mentioned some points how we can, improve the rate of adoption of new technologies, but some more details, like what do you think, how can we overcome this barrier, basically, and what are some of the practical strategies or solutions we can take, and how a multi-stakeholder approach can help in this?
So, Sayan, you partly answered your question yourself when you acknowledge that this phase has to see a more integrated approach. It can't be that I carve out my little market and I protect that market from my competitors and from being poached, right? And I just lock those customers in, and I completely own those customers, and I keep on delivering my technology. So that phase is gone. No player alone in the technology market can do it anymore. I would also, pose for your consideration a second change which has happened in the last 50 years. When we were solving the food security problem, I would say the organizing dynamic was extensification. We just wanted to ensure that more and more area came under the HYV seeds, primarily paddy and wheat, right? In this phase, the organizing dynamic, I believe, has completely transformed because we've achieved macro food security. And I have to confess that even the government has not grasped this change. Today, the organizing dynamic has to be sustainability. It cannot be the older approach of extensification, even whether it's for a private company or for the government, that I simply expand my market further and further. That's not going to work. Now, if you say sustainability, then obviously one player cannot deliver all the solutions because sustainability may involve you're requiring to work with an irrigation company also, a soil health company also, a marketing player also, a financial institution also, right? And I don't want to make this very dramatic, but I'm saying we used to feel as young civil servants in the field in the 80s, a sense of enthusiasm and aspiration in the farming community whenever we went to the field, because things are only growing. New technology are coming, delivering value, delivering higher incomes. I'm sure that Dr. Singh, with his ground connections and understanding, and I'm sure even you have done that, and my work in the last decade and a half with FPOs. Today, there is such a demoralized farming community that today we have to go to the farmer with a very new message of hope and aspiration. And that has to revolve around sustainability. I'm increasingly, diverting our work as a company towards that. We have tied up with Global Gap Foundation. We are working with Corteva, of course. We are working with at least a dozen other companies. And I put everything on the table. I, grew up in a system where you were by law required to be transparent. So that way I'm a very poor private sector, player. But I'm saying in the field that we are, we cannot afford to look at our little enclaves or colonies of clients or customers. We need to reach out proactively. And I'm going to close by saying just one thing. Exactly 10 years ago in 2013, I had a BlackBerry, right? They were new, they were very effective, they were very impressive. Today, nobody has a BlackBerry, but we have another new technology called the iPhone or a Samsung smartphone, which is perhaps even better than the BlackBerry, right? In an industrial or service sector setting, one player can be replaced very easily by another player. One technology can very easily replace or get upgraded. In agriculture, you're talking about people who generate the very basis of life. You cannot compare a food producer to a phone producer or a car manufacturer or any other producer of an industrial product. He is dealing with live resources. You're also giving him a live resource, right? And he's in a sense performing a kind of alchemy that he's putting in, 1 kg of something and he's reaping at least 10 kgs of that product at the very minimum. It's amazing. 2 days ago, in this crazy week that I've been traveling, I was in Pune district with some investors who are looking at, supporting vegetable farmers. It was 44 that day. This guy was laying out mulching film on his field and punching holes and planting cauliflower saplings, right? We met him at around 12:30. We could barely stay for 10 minutes out there with him. But he'd been there since about 10 o'clock in the morning, and he was going to wind up at 4 o'clock, right? So I'm saying, let's put him at the center. And then I'm sure we can all find business plans we can find profitability, we can find our own financial sustainability, but actually all of that is going to come out of this packaged delivery of the sustainability of farming solutions. As I said, which will involve beyond technology and things beyond science, what science can provide. So I would like to see that emerge. We still don't have scale models, and hope that we can all work together to build some of those models going forward. So that's all I want to say.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sharma. Very, very, relevant point and very insightful. And so I think we are almost coming to the end of the podcast. And I personally learned a lot from both of your wisdom, basically. So, if I try to summarize what we have discussed so far, so maybe a couple of points. So one is just availability of a technology is not enough. Okay, so we need to create awareness. We need to demonstrate the benefit of the technology to the farmers so that they can adopt it. And also we need to create a right ecosystem for the farmers where they are assured that they can get a sustainable return on their investment, basically. Okay, so that is very, very important. And for that, I think all the stakeholders needs to come together, like private seed companies, be it private seed companies or organizations like Tanager or Samunnati. So ultimate goal is like sustainable growth in agriculture and move our country forward. And for doing all these things, we need to keep the farmer at the center of everything. Okay, so give him the confidence that with a particular product or technology, you can get that sustainable yield to support your generations to come. So that is very, very important. And we should come out of our silos and hold hands or get together for a bigger cause of benefit of Indian agriculture. So thank you again, Dr. Singh and Mr. Sharma. So I will just quickly ask if you have any final comments before we close the podcast.
So the one area where I did not talk about anything is how do you bring this all together at that, as you mentioned in the beginning, those 86% actually small and marginal farmers, right? Some of whom are too small or too scattered to be able to, access in an economical way. And for anybody, whether it's an MNC or it's a startup like us, the cost of delivery to these scattered producers is always going to be a challenge. And therefore, this idea of the FPO, where I saw that institutional structure where the aggregated bargaining power, the aggregated production power can be leveraged, would be a better platform to quickly infuse technology to achieve market linkage, access to finance, all the rest of it. We now have more than a decade plus experience in the FPO world. We have some very good examples, but the truth is that the majority of the FPOs, there are more than now 30,000 of them, they still are struggling to access the adequate amount of working capital, acquire the managerial capacity. So I'm going to close with another subversive idea now, which I'm talking to everybody, and I'm throwing it to both of you as representatives of private sector companies who are concerned and involved with farmers. I'm saying, are we willing to put our trust in this sector by coming up with a joint venture model where the FPO and a private partner come together to deliver all the things we've talked about in the last 1 hour, the sustainability solution, the technology penetration solution, the market linkage solution, the financial access solution. I'm saying that we may need to move towards institutional innovation along with technological innovation. Technological innovation is not going to deliver the results that it deserves without an institutional innovation accompanying it. So in fact, we are in the dialogue with a group of network of FPOs. And once we reach some, I want to invite at least 4 or 5 partners from the private sector saying, would you like to come and participate in this experiment? Take a small 2%, 3% stake. Let's try and see if we can build something new, right? Because I think only if the farmers, through their representative institutions, feel that they are part of this and not simply being seen as customers or clients, will we see a breakthrough. So that will be my final thought on the subject.
Thank you.
Yeah, just a
Thank
minute, sir. I want to say one thing that we have 5 FPOs, sir, with us. Whatever farmers are producing, we used to buy it, and then after that we are giving to other partners. But farmers are not facing the market problem. Everything we used to buy from them.
That's a great
Whatever
example of a
I
partnership then. I would say that is the ideal example of the partnership, where the
Sir.
market risk is being managed with your better understanding of the market.
Right.
Yes,
Right?
sir.
And they
Yeah,
are focusing on their core competence, which is production.
yeah,
Right?
Right.
And you are
They are-
bringing in your technology as well as the market expertise.
Yeah.
This is an ideal example of what we need to do.
yeah. Actually, whatever oil they are producing, we used to buy it. In market, whenever they are going, they are facing lot of problems. Then we decided let us have our own FPOs. We started FPOs and they are buying all the oils, whatever they are selling. And then we are giving to the partners who are interested to have that one. So we have FPOs, sir. We have SHGs. We have our gender sensitization also. We have all the agricultural practices related to this one. And not only in mint, even in other crops also we have to advise to our farmers. That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
yeah, so thank you so much once again, Mr. Sharma and Dr. Singh. It was really an insightful discussion and very relevant discussion, I would say. And I am confident that today's session will be a thought-provoking one for the audience and will create a good amount of excitement around new seed technologies and their adoption. So with this, we come to an end of our podcast session. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.